nowadays in the pet food industry is becoming more and more important, the gut health and how the gut health is influenced. So to do that, a big part of it is the fiber consumptions. So understanding what is fiber, what are the biochemistry paths for the fiber, and how fiber is analyzed. People from different industries that came to us and say, hey, I have this product, is the best product ever, and then understanding why that product is the best ever and how that will interact with other ingredients that are in our product for the pet.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Wisenetix Podcast episode. As usual, we're having amazing people here with us, and today is no different. For you that have not subscribed yet to our content here, make sure to find the subscribe button on your screen so you can be updated on the latest conversations we have, content we're creating, and amazing guests we are receiving. This is a hub for professionals in agriculture to stay connected and learn more about other professionals and leaders' stories, insights, and points of view about all sorts of things in the industry. Today, we're having here with us Paola Lancheros. Paola works with research and development in the pet food industry, and she's going to be sharing more about her story, experience, and lots of other cool stuff. Paola has a background in chemical engineering and also a master's in animal science in the University of Illinois. Today, she's going to be sharing a lot about R&D, about her experience in creating innovative solutions and pet nutrition and health, and lots of other cool stuff. Welcome, Paola.
Thank you, Ricardo.
Thank you for coming. Paola, just for us to start, can you introduce yourself, tell us a little bit more about you, and also tell us what sparked your interest first in chemical engineering, and how did that lead to R&D in the animal nutrition industry?
So I'm Paola Lancheros. I'm originally from Colombia, but nowadays I'm in the US working in pet food. And how I end up here? Well, it was since I was in high school. I have been always fascinated by science. So my dream was just to study something related with chemistry and to be in a lab, just making a bunch of experiments. So that was my dream at that time. I knew though that I wanted something that I could apply the chemistry. So I didn't want to start to study pure chemistry. I wanted something that I could apply to the industry. That is how I end up in chemical engineering. The other factor that influenced my decision about my career was finding something that I have some flexibility. So in chemical engineering, I could have flexibility of going through different fields. I could go to the oil industry, to manufacturing, even to academia if I decide at some point. But that was my path there. Once I was studying chemical engineering, I wanted to do research, but in Colombia, the options were a little bit more limited. So then I decided to start looking for opportunities. And at that time, my friend was doing an internship at the University of Illinois. So I started connecting and engaging more with nutrition in animals. And it was easy to have conversations with him, even though we were from different fields, still science. So people didn't understand too much about like, hey, but why pursuing a degree in animal sciences? But it's science at the end of the day. So it shares fields like biochemistry, microbiology, biotechnology. So we found a lot of commonalities there with my friend, and I start just enjoying those conversations. And then I start working later on as a lab manager in the University of Illinois. I had the opportunity to do animal sciences research, and then later on I end up driving my path more towards pet food. And yeah, that is where I am, and I enjoy it a lot.
That's awesome. Yeah, you had an interesting path, starting from studying in Colombia, then moving to the US, getting into animal nutrition, and actually started with the swine industry before going to pet food, right? Can you share a little bit more how this your journey unfolded?
Yeah, as I mentioned, I wanted always to do something applied. That is why I choose chemical engineering. Then I'll tell you just a little bit more about my experience in the nutritional sciences. So I arrived to the US, to the University of Illinois, and I had the opportunity to work as a lab manager. There, I participate in different experiments about nutrition for swine that was based in digestibility, but just listening all of the students talking about the different research with different nutrients, different ingredients, that sparkled my interest in nutrition. And my professor at that time, he has a lot of passion about nutrition, a great professor, Dr. Stein, so he teach me all the bases about nutrition. Then I wanted to do a master's degree as my as the other students, so then I start my master's degree, and my master's degree was focused in fiber, mostly in analysis. So I had my research was about comparing different methods for analyzing fiber, especially for corn and DDGS, and what was the impact of those fibers in the swine. We were looking at a method of how to break down the big molecules of fiber to have a better to take more advantage of the nutrients from the corn and DDGS. And I work with enzymes, but the core was the analysis of fiber. So I did analysis for NDF, DDF, ADF, and then I did more specialized analysis like non-starch polysaccharides. So I learned a lot about carbohydrates. And then later, when I was doing my master's, I took a class that changed completely my perception, and that is why I started enjoying more the pet food. So I took a class of pet food manufacturing, where I enjoyed a lot because finally I found the connection between nutrition and chemical engineering, because it's manufacturing. That was something that always fascinated me. So I enjoyed that class badly, and I started having more conversations with my professor. So then she started teaching me more, and she ended up being my co-advisor for my research, as well as other professor that is also highly involved in pet food nutrition. So I work with Maria de Godoy, and I work with Dr. Fahey. Both of them really good advisors. The three of them with Dr. Stein very passionate about animal nutrition and about academia and education. So I think that is what is most important when you become passionate about it, to have someone who teach you, someone to follow, someone who answered your questions, and that feel that passion about a topic as well. So I end up my master's degree, and after that I worked with Maria for a little bit in research for pet food, and then I went to the industry, and that is where I am right now. So I start as a product developer scientist, then I become the leader of R&D, and nowadays I'm the manager.
That's awesome. I love how some special key people in our lives, they influence our work. It makes all the difference when you're able to, when you have the opportunity to engage with passionate people, right? People that are passionate about what they do. It's a whole other level of how they can teach you and influence you, right? And it's nice to see that you had the opportunity to meet with a few of those great people in your journey. And Paola, so you had some experience. You have some experience, extended experience in nutrition and also in manufacturing. But you started there with engineering, right? Chemical engineering. How do you think your experience in engineering, your background in engineering and biotechnology, influenced your approach to work today?
Well, I think that it has been crucial, and I use several tools from my career as a chemical engineer, especially because it's processing. So that helps me to understand how a variable in the process influence the final product that we produce. And also, it's easier to have conversation with people in my team. So all the time, I am exposed to engineers, to people from quality, people from processing, and it's easier to have those conversations thanks to my background. and also that give me the tools to contribute to solutions in the manufacturing part. But in contrast, it's not only the manufacturer and how we do the product, but also what we put in the product and how that product would influence the pet. So that is when my master's degree comes in place. And then that helps me with the formulations and evaluation of ingredients, how one ingredient will impact the health and well-being of the pets. So as I say, I can combine my both passions in my role pretty much every day.
That's awesome. So let's dive into this a little bit. So you're working in the industry, helping companies to develop products, innovative solutions for pet nutrition and health. And when we think about ingredient selection, with your expertise in fibers, digestibility, and all the other things you've studied, how do you think those experiences influence your approach to ingredient selection and formulation for optimal pet health?
So, from formulation, I think that the most important has been the good understanding of biochemistry, how the different paths influence the final result from the nutritional standpoint, how an ingredient impact the health, how an ingredient is digested, what are the paths for the carbohydrates, the proteins, the fats, how they are different. So all of that is crucial for the formulation. But nowadays in the pet food industry, is becoming more and more important the gut health and how the gut health is influenced. So to do that, a big part of it is the fiber consumptions. So understanding what is fiber, what are the biochemistry paths for the fiber, and how fiber is analyzed. It has been important for me. It has been important when I have conversations with people who offer us ingredients. So people from different industries that came to us and say, "Hey, I have this product is the best product ever," and then understanding why that product is the best ever and how that will interact with other ingredients that are in our product for the pet, is where the good understanding of fiber becomes important. I feel that fiber is a field that we just start understanding, but there is too much to understand and how fiber change the physiology of the gut, and more importantly the population of bacteria who lives there. So I think that there is just too much to uncover, especially for the pet food.
I can imagine. And what do you think are the main challenges today when you're developing new products in the pet food industry?
Well, there are several, but I will say that in general is the misinformation. Today, the information travels pretty quick through the mass media, and that is a great advantage for several things, for communication and all that. But unfortunately, when the information is not the right or is in the wrong hands, that is when this become a problem. So there has been some studies that have been for humans, and people extrapolated immediately to the pets without understanding that there are differences, that even though we have similar systems, they are slightly different. And people just start building wrong perceptions. So for example, with the meat byproducts, some people are thinking, hey, I won't feed my dog any byproduct because that is wrong, I just need to feed them muscle meat. And they don't understand how nutritious are some of the organs that are used commonly in the pet food industry. So there is just some misinformation from people who are not scientists, people who don't choose the right source of information. Like in science, we always look for peer-reviewed papers that have a research behind it, but sometimes just the influencers, they just read a phrase and now it becomes massive. Again, even without having that foundations in science. So I think that yeah, that is the main issue right now, because you can have an amazing product, but if the ingredients are not appealing to the customer, you're not gonna be successful. And that becomes also a problem for sustainability because we are competing with sources for the human food. So it's just kind of a snowball.
Wow. Yeah, I think it's a problem that exceeds the barriers of pet food nutrition. It's a problem we're facing in the world today with communication, with the speed and pace of communication, and how we use marketing and communication tactics and strategies to create more appealing communication that can be that often can challenge science. And we see this in all fields of our lives, how we're giving space to pseudoscience based on, if you know how to pitch something in an attractive way, and in a confident way, lots of times you can get people believing in them, even though if they are not like proven or anything. That's a challenge. That's a big challenge. Finding ways. It's one thing that we try to do with our podcast, of course, always bringing, you know, um, trustful information, right? Information backed by science, but trying to bring it in a way that it's more digestible, uh, just more, let's say, fun to consume. So you can bring like good information, science-based information, but in a way that it's not boring to listen.
Absolutely, and I think that that is what we need in the industry, like having like a scientific knowledge, but that can be understanding, that is easy to understand for everyone. I think that that will help tremendously with this misinformation.
Yeah, and my background is in design, so I worked for a while with developing brands, working with graphic materials, packaging, and everything, and studying this. And if we think about the pet food industry, it's an industry that every time more is like closer to humans, right? How we treat our pets, how they like. I have this one back there, Mila. She's my dog, and we. I noticed that like we start treating them like they are humans, and we're always looking for the best for them. And most of times, if there's a good package with a few labels saying, "Hey, it's this sort of ingredients, it's sustainable, it's this and that," we read them, we are attracted by those things, but at the end of the day, we don't even understand what they're about, right? So it's a big challenge for the day, for the days we live. I'm not sure how we're tackling this and fighting this, but it's definitely a big challenge. But Paola, following up on our conversation here about research and development, what would you say are some of the most essential skills to succeed in research and development in the pet food industry?
First of all, I will say ethic. Ethic is important in any field. Doing what is right for the pets, but also what is right for the people who work in our manufacturing facility. That is for me number one. It's very easy to take shortcuts or to do things in the wrong way just to make things easier or cheaper or so, but that is not the best thing to do. So that is why I think that ethic is the most important one. The second one is curiosity. You cannot be in R&D if you don't have curiosity to explore new paths and new ways to make things different. And then also having a critical thinking, because I mean, getting knowledge is easier, but if you don't know how to apply it and how to be critical about it, that becomes like harder to perform your job. And last but not least, passion. Like working with people who enjoy and has similar passions make my life easier, so and enjoyable. Like I really enjoy creating new products, developing newer solutions, and working in a team that feels the same passion as I have. That is really a gift.
These are good tips for most any work we need to do in our lives, right? So it's a very interesting perspective. And Paula, the first time we met, we talked a little bit about your background and your work. And one thing that was recurring was this aspect about having to create processes, simulating scenarios. Um, can you share your approach to designing efficient systems in R&D? Some tips, if you have any applicable tips for people there, that would be awesome.
So I will say every idea start with a target. So the first thing in any project is to define a target, and then starting with the design. What steps do we need to meet that target? What are the deadlines? A project without a target and a deadline probably not going to be successful if you don't have a clear um, vision of when do you need to finalize that and what sources do you need to finalize that. Then the other important thing is your team. How, like, who is your team? What are the skills that your team has, and what support do you need? So when you define the target and you know what you need, you also will know what are the sources, even if there are like physical sources of staff, and what are the skills needed for that. And then other important part is the ownership. So what is the ownership from you as the person responsible for the job, but also how to make people accountable. So for me, how to make people accountable is that, again, when I define the target, I have my sources. Then I assign responsibilities for the people who are the stakeholders of the project. And that helps with clarity of what is expected, when is expected, and just encourage the people to ask questions for clarity. That helps to understand what is the goal, and during the process, if we are doing well or not, or if for some reason the project is not going well, what we can do on time to prevent not being successful in the timeline that we have.
Okay, so recapping again, a target, which could be like the objective, what you want to accomplish. Make sure to have clear deadlines, to assemble a team with the right skills, probably complementary skills, and then ownership and accountability. So you can everyone feels like owner of the thing, and they're accountable for their responsibilities. Did I miss anything, or
No,
those were
that's all.
okay? Awesome. So we're talking about R&D, we're talking about innovation, new solutions that today necessarily involves technology, right? How do you see the role of technology? I don't know, from software to automations. How do you see the role of technology in the work you do today?
Well, it plays such an important role. Starting from the formulation, we use softwares to predict the nutritional composition from the final product. So that help us saving sources and time when we develop a product, and also using other softwares like statistical softwares that help us to understand, for example, how the variables behave during the process, and if we have an issue, that help us to do all the root cause analysis of that issue and how to prevent that to happen one more time. Also with the material, that help us tremendously in the quality control, not only from the raw materials but also for the final product. And then nowadays we are just looking out how to implement artificial intelligence. That is something that is coming in every industry. So it's such a new field. So we are just exploring what will be the best way to use it in a way that it won't be also such a negative things for us, but how to use that in a smart way.
Perfect. Yeah, it's we need to. We had several different episodes here talking about the artificial intelligence with different perspectives from companies that use AI as a solution in the industry. But it's definitely something that is part of our days now. It's not. It's not about the future anymore. It's part. It's part of our present. And yeah, data and artificial intelligence are definitely things that will impact directly the way we do our work. And but the last topic I want to cover here, Paola, is education and thought leadership. Right? We're talking about R&D, so this goes hand in hand with education. Right? It's all about studying and learning in such a high technical industry like pet food, animal nutrition? How do you view the role of thought leadership in shaping perceptions?
That's a really good question, with a lot of layers to peel. So, first of all, I will say the first most important thing is how leadership encourage innovation and education, because R&D is about that. It's about innovating. But to be able to innovate, you have to have knowledge. So education, through participating in different seminars, classes, event conferences, help us to develop new products, because we have a good understanding of why, how, and also what is going on in the industry, what the industry needs. One of the keys in any field is to keep yourself up to date, and attending to those conferences help that. So if leadership provides that encouragement and also provide the sources to attend to conferences, and also encourage participating into events that other people from the industry attend as well, that is crucial. But also the culture of the company, of allowing you to play and bringing ideas to the table, thinking outside of the box. That is important. Some of the keys for development is having the opportunity to mess up. I think that you learn the best from your mistakes. Of course, those mistakes can be controlled and assessed
Yes.
to a certain point, but if you don't play and you don't make mistakes, it's harder to learn. So if the company and leadership understand that, that is a big step.
That's something important for sure. Yeah, if we have a saying here that like fail fast and learn with it, and fail often, fail fast. Make sure to not repeat mistakes. But yeah, if you fail in different things, that's fine. We're learning, and there's no innovation without like failing, right? You need to test it out, see what's happening. So that's essential for culture.
Another part that I feel that is also related with leadership and the culture is challenging. Like, you can be respectful, but you can challenge your partners, and you can challenge your coworkers about topics that you may not agree, as long as you have the data to support and like a strong reasons why. So challenging, I feel that makes you growth tremendously. And one of the challenges that I receive always is like, you cannot tell me that you cannot do it. You just tell me what sources do you need and how we can work together to make it happen. It is hard. Yes, it is hard. It will be difficult. Yes, it will be difficult, but it must be a way. So find a way. And sometimes, yeah, sometimes at the end, yeah, we don't find a way, but we get closer and we learn other positive aspects that we can apply to other projects.
I loved it. It's interesting. It's important. I like to see how this culture is in the industry. It's essential, in my opinion. Paula, we are wrapping up our conversation here. First of all, thank you so much for the insights. I love when people bring specific insights and ideas, and as you shared them, I was just thinking about my work and what I do, and I can see a lot of relation. Like they're not limited to R&D, but actually to work in general. So that's very good, especially for our audience who is listening to us today. Last question: if people want to connect with you, learn more about the work you're doing, and yeah, basically connect, what are the best channels for that?
Also, LinkedIn. LinkedIn, I consider myself that I'm active in LinkedIn, uh, so you can follow me there.
Okay, so Paola Lancheros. Paola's name is going to be in the description of the episode here. We'll also publish this episode on LinkedIn and make sure to tag Paola. So, Paola, thank you so much for taking the time for this conversation today. I really enjoyed it. I hope you did as well. And for our listeners, you that are out there in your home listening to us, or I don't know, driving or in a farm, thank you so much for staying with us. And I hope to see you all on our next episode. Thank you all.
Thank you, Ricardo. Bye bye.